And how's it going, guys? Josh Olufemii here, live from LA, and we have yet another creative week with Nick Khoo. Nick Khoo, one of our favorite channel teachers, live from Sydney, Australia. He is a VFX master. I was a big fan of Nick Khoo's VFX work for years, probably almost a decade. We met up like maybe a few years ago, and then we started doing YouTube videos together about a year ago. He's worked with so many big brands and artists, and this week he is committed to one VFX tutorial every single day, which is crazy. Today, Nick's gonna be showing you how to create this crazy looping dance vid. But first, of course, we're going to talk about Envato Elements. If you're watching this video, you're probably a video editor, and Envato Elements is a video editor's dream. It's a subscription service that gives you unlimited downloads of the most incredible stock footage, like cloud and fog overlays, aerial footage, fire, lightning. They also have incredible VFX packs, Premiere and After Effects templates, sound effects, royalty-free music, and literally anything you could ever want as a video editor. Just by clicking the link below, you will automatically get a free first month. You'll see that coupon for the free first month at the very end after you've finished signing up. And that's it. I use Elements literally in some regard every day. Nick, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Josh, and welcome back to another exciting tutorial with yours truly. Look, this one's an interesting one because conceptually, looping videos are kind of a little bit difficult because you got to kind of plan a little bit ahead of how you want to make this stuff loop. And this one's a little bit tricky, but not impossible. And I'm going to take you through step by step how to get this effect going. It does require a little bit of pre-planning, a little bit of futzing around to kind of get the elements to kind of line up in a nice way. But it is pretty fun. Look, you can follow along. I'm going to put the project in the description. And also, if you will need some elements from Envato to basically get this going, but thankfully there is a free month that you can get with Josh's promotion, so I would probably suggest hooking up with that, and then we can get started and you can follow along and see all the little tricks that I use to kind of get this started. So at the moment I'm using a few different pieces of footage. So one of them is this girl in green just dancing around, which is the B girl. Same one. This is all stuff from Envato, by the way. So just a guy dancing. It's pretty goofy, I know, but it's, you know, but it's all keyed. It's all nicely keyed out. They've taken the shadows off the floor. You know, they've done a good job with getting these clean. And this one is already pre-keyed, so they've done the pre-keying for me. And it's useful because I just need this little blue square in the middle here for me to key things through. So we're going to actually take this girl first. So what we're going to do is we're just going to find a point where the card isn't moving too much. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to find a point where she's not moving too much. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to find a little point here. So we double click into it, and I'm just going to press this in point here, and we're just going to create a new comp. So this is just for the girl herself. So what I'm going to do is, actually now that I think about it, I'm just going to just shrink this down. I'll just take roughly around here. So let's make the out point roughly there. And it's only going to be a few seconds. We only need a few seconds of her because it's going to just keep looping and looping. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drag this here into a new comp like this. And the reason is because this is 4K footage, and it's really nice because we can actually scale up really well so that when we do zoom in, we don't lose too much resolution. So that's kind of the reason why I kind of picked it. So that's good. Now, what we need to do is also duplicate this girl, and I'll tell you why in a sec. So we'll duplicate this girl. Now, right now, we're going to go in and we're just going to key this out right now. So we're going to put a key on, actually, how long is this clip? It's not very long, is it? Let me just adjust the sequence settings here. Composition settings. We'll make it 0. Oh. 0. And we'll actually make this around 5. I think it was around 5 seconds. So we'll stretch it out just a little bit. 5 seconds is usually pretty good. It'll give us enough length on either side to kind of get the stuff we need done. Because it's only a very quick transition, but you do want a little bit of length on either end to kind of get what you need done. So next up, we're going to key the card out. Now, I just want you to understand this has already got alpha. The alpha is already taken out of this. So that's just something you got to remember when you're looking at this piece of footage. So we're going to go to the effects preset, and we're just going to quickly grab the key light plugin. So key light, drag it on here, and we're gonna just, you know, drag that on top. We'll just turn this off for a second because it is see-through now. So as you can see, it is see-through. We want to get that key pretty clean. So we'll go to the screen matte. You can see here her shorts are still coming through a little bit. So we're going to clip that white and clip the black just for good measure. Not too much, just a little bit on each end. So everything's a little bit more crunchy. And then we'll go to final result. And that's pretty good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to nest this one. We're going to go to layer, and then we're going to go pre-compose, and we're going to call this girl card alpha, and we're going to press, and we're going to move all the attributes into the new composition. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to go down to the second one here, and we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to pre-compose this. So shift Control or Shift Command C will actually get you that command up. We're going to do the same thing, and this time we're going to call this girl card maps. And you're going to see why in a sec. So now we've got these two layers. I mean, they look exactly the same, right? But that's cool. So what we're going to do now is we are actually going to create a new background as well. So let's create that background right now. So let's pick a solid layer, new solid, and let's just pick a nice kind of vibrant color. Actually, let's just make this first one white. We should just make this first one white just to make it a little bit easier. So let's make this white, which is fantastic. Now we want to actually, so this is the issue I was running into before. So it's all good to we want this window here because it's already pre-keyed. We only want this window here to be keyed. We don't want anything else to be keyed. So the issue I was running through here is that when you put a background behind the girl, the white comes through as well. And you don't want to go through and try and keyframe this little rectangle in the middle here, because that'll just be, I mean, you could, but let's be honest, you don't want to do that. Let's do this the smart way. So the reason why I created this matte layer is just so that we can cut everything out except for the girl. So what we'll do is we'll set this to inverse matte. So we just cut everything out except we cut everything out. We cut the girl out and just leave this like little kind of cartoon hole. And so you kind of see she's sort of dancing in here. And when we lay this other layer on top, now we've just got this perfect key, and we just get the card by itself. All right, so that's the first step. So now we've got this version in white. We'll just add a little bit of a vignette just to kind of make it a little bit more interesting. I just press Command Y or Control Y to get a new solid coming up. So we'll go black, and then we'll go down here, and we'll just go draw a little bit of an ellipse to kind of get that nice nice vignette going. And right now you can kind of see the black is coming through, and that's because I haven't actually set. We actually have to combine those two layers in a second. So what we'll do is we'll set up the background first, just to be sure. Actually, I don't even need to put this underneath. Let's put this here. All right, we're going to call this we'll just pre-compose this, and we'll call this white background. And we'll set this to, oops, the other one, alpha inverted. All right, so that's the first one. So we've got this nice girl dancing on this little thing. It's a bit cheesy, but you get the idea. All right, now what we're going to do is, I'm just going to make a new, we'll just call this, we'll just organize this a little bit so it's a bit easier to follow here, because I don't like it when comps are not, when stuff isn't organized. And just for good practice, if you are learning After Effects, it is good to learn to organize your assets. I usually put things into comps and into assets to keep things kind of nice and obvious, and label your stuff. Don't be one of those dudes or people who don't label their things, because that's just terrible. Anyway, so that's our first one. Sorry, I gotta grab the other one too. All right, so we'll call this girl dance 1. Okay, cool. And actually, I'm gonna put a little underscore at the top, so it actually goes to the top. Oh, so it actually goes to the top there. I had this organized the wrong way. Okay. Now let's duplicate this. All right, so we're going to use exactly the same dance routine as we had in the previous one, but this time what we're going to do is we're actually going to change out the background. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another background. So we'll just turn this off for a second and let's create a different colored background. So let's pick a different color. So let's pick yellow, maybe a bit more of a warm yellow. And let's bring this down to the bottom. And let's put I'm going to put a little shape on it as well. So let's pick this, just without anything selected here, let's pick this square tool. And now let's pick the stroke color here. And let's also bring this down and make this just a different color, yellow. Oops, what just happened? All right, here we go. And we'll just I'm just holding the shift down so you get a perfect square. And we're just going to recenter that as well. So if you press, I always forget to say this, what is it? It's Option Command or Alt Control Home, and that'll actually recenter it, the square to the very middle. And then we're going to press Command or Control Home, and that's just going to bring it right to the center. All right, we're going to pull this behind the young lady, and I'm just going to turn off this layer here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put an expression on the square. And so we're going to bring up the rotation here, and we're going to hold down Alt or Option and click on the stopwatch. And then we're going to type in time, and we're going to call it 100. So time times 100, and this should automatically turn by itself, which is fantastic. If you want to make it faster, you could make it 1,000 if you really want. And we go, but that is ridiculous. So 100 is a nice number. So there we go. And she's dancing with a thing. Now, we had the same problem before, which is that she is obviously coming through, the yellow is coming through the card, which we don't want. So what we're going to do is we're going to pre-compose this turning square and this yellow backdrop, and we're going to make it another background. So we'll call this yellow background. Very original, I know. And we're going to set this to alpha inverted matte. And there we go. Now we have 2 of these. Now go ahead and make another 2 of these backgrounds. And I'm gonna sprint through and just do another 2 of these backgrounds, and I'll see you in a sec. All right, so I cheated a little bit and added a couple of backgrounds in the previous attempt that I had, but it's pretty easy to set up, and I'm not going to go through it because it's not really that important in terms of, it's not difficult is what I'm trying to say, but I'll do for one more. So right now, this yellow one is, has no dancers in it, so let's put a couple of dancers in it. So if we kind of look at this guy, which we haven't put into anything yet, I'm just going to grab him, and we're going to pull him in there, and we're going to grab key light. And we're just going to grab this key, and it should be a pretty decent key. I mean, if we can double check the screen mat just to be sure, pretty clean. We don't really need to do anything to it. All right, so let's find the center of this because we want to know where we want to kind of do a little bit of a mirroring effect. We'll get him on that side. Now we'll duplicate this, so Command D or Control D, and we'll press the scale, S for scale, and we'll just change this to -100. And right now he's going to be on the opposite side, so we're going to do that. So right now we're going to have these 2 guys duplicated, and they're going to be dancing. Now, I don't like his starting pose. I actually wanted to be already dancing. So let's just shrink this down to here, and we'll bring this up, and let's have him already dancing. Now, just to kind of stagger it a little bit more, I'm going to duplicate 2 more of these guys, and we're going to go Control D or Command D, and we're going to pull them below. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this guy to the left, and then this guy to the right, just roughly, and then we're going to shrink him down. So let's make this one 75 and this one also 75. Make sure you click the scale linking button on, or else it'll scale in a weird way. That's too much. Let's make it a little bit less, maybe 85. Yeah, 85 sounds better. All right, that looks good. All right, now we've got some 2 breakdancing dudes. Now she looks like she has an ensemble of people dancing with that. And when we go back to this, still works perfectly. That's kind of good. All right, now let's figure out how to make this loop. So it's tricky. I'm not going to lie, this is tricky, but we're going to get it to work, and I'm going to show you how to do it. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to make a new comp. We're going to make this 1080 by 1080 just because this is, if you want to put it on your Instagram or kind of thing, I think squares work better than pure rectangles, but you're welcome to do whatever you like, but I'm just going to make it 1080 by 1080. And let's make this only for the, just so it's a bit easier to muck around, 10 seconds. We'll call this looping dance. Now, we're going to set up the, before we actually get to actually looping things, we're actually going to set it up so that we design the element so that it can loop back on itself, if that makes sense. It'll make sense in a second, I hope. So we're going to grab the first one here, and let's just shrink it down so it is sort of a roughly, actually, you know what? I'm not going to even guess. We're going to go transform and then fit to height. There we go. So now we know it actually fits. And right now I'm going to move ahead 1 second here. I'm going to give it a little bit of a tail, and I'm going to go and press P, bring up the position. Actually, we're going to turn the 3D on as well. And I'm going to go up to the 3 second mark. And before I even do that, I'm going to make sure to set the anchor point towards the center of this. Just to make it a bit easier, you want to set the anchor point. Let's delete this. We're going to set the anchor point to here in the middle of the sign. So let's grab that. We're going to go the pan behind tool, which is up here where you press Y. And we're just going to drag this and just make it around the center of the screen. It's going to move, which is fine, but roughly that. Now we're going to press P, and we're going to move ahead 2 seconds, so around the 3 second mark. And we're going to try and zoom in through this mask using the Z coordinates. Now it's going to move up and down. It's going to move in kind of a weird way, but we're going to make it work. Just do the best you can to kind of get it to go mostly through the center of the thing. It will move, but it's fine. All right, so that'll do. And I'm actually going to clip that from here so we don't get any stray dancing frames, because we leave that in there, you know, she's still going to come into frame. So we're going to actually make it seem like we went straight through. All right, so there we go. That's kind of the first move. And we're just going to put a little bit of easing on this. So what I recommend is just putting a little bit of an easy ease on it. Easing, oh, sorry, that ease out, should I say. Okay, that's not bad. All right, there we go. So that's the first one. All right, let's try this again, because I actually did this. I actually had to stop the tutorial for a second because I had to try and figure out what the heck I was doing. I told you this one was complicated, but we're going to get through it because I'm just like that kind of guy. Anyway, so the original looping element, I was trying to figure out why it wasn't really working. It's because my timing was a little bit off. So what you have to do, and what I realized I had to do, was actually set up sort of making sure there's enough time on either side of the loop to be able to loop, if that makes sense. So I kind of you have to kind of give the looping clip a bit of a run on. So I gave it about 2 seconds to kind of do its own thing before it actually starts to move off. So we're going to do that. So we set the first keyframe at exactly, I don't know why I've got an anchor point. There should be no anchor point keyframes in there, but we'll set the first keyframe at 2 seconds and then the last keyframe at 4. So what we're going to do now is we're going to duplicate this, and I'm going to actually line up I'm going to show you both the keyframes. I'm going to line up this first keyframe with the last keyframe here like this. And this is what's going to happen. So, you know, you can kind of see she kind of only moves off when the first one has finished moving off. So I'm going to do that up. We're going to do that a few more times. I'm pressing Control D to make sure it does loop, and we do get a perfect loop up to this point. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Now we've got a couple issues here we've got to fix up. So as you can see here, the alpha channel kind of pops on, which was not what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn on time remapping here, and we're actually going to stretch this out to the front here. And I'm going to set another keyframe at the front here from where we're using the white color of the board. And right now it's doing some weird things with the keyframing here, so which I don't like. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to turn off the easy ease on this. So I'm going to press Control or Command and turn the easy ease off on that. And we're going to select all the keyframes here, and we're going to go to Keyframe Interpolation and make sure everything is set to linear, because otherwise you get that the famous Adobe boomerang, which none of us want. So there you go. We're going to do the same with this time remapping. This one we're only going to move up to this keyframe here, or wherever you think you can kind of see the alpha channel come in, but I think here is fine. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to take the positioning keyframe here, and we're going to just move. We're going to paste it here in this position, so around there, and now she's going to come in, and then when we need her, which is great. So there we go. You can kind of see she only comes in when we need her. Again, enable time remapping. Do this one more time. I'm going to grab the position keyframe here and add this to the position as well. So let's select this and go make sure we separate keyframe interpolation. Linear. And let's also do the same for this. Right click, keyframe interpolation, linear. That should fix that issue. Perfect. There we go. Now we know it's perfectly looping, which is good. And then we got the alpha channel in the last one there. Now what we can do is we can actually now start looking at replacing some of these dances. So let's, we're going to hold down the Alt key and then drag this on. And this should perfectly set this up for us. So this is kind of fun. So, and we're going to do likewise with the other ones. So girl dance 2 and girl dance 3 and 4. Let's do this. Let's try this out. That's not looking too bad. The loop is happening. All right, now that we've got our looping dance element here, now we've got to try and actually make it loop. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky and it's going to mess around with your brain a little bit, but I have faith that you guys are going to pick this up. Before we go any further, I probably thought I should explain exactly what my looping strategy here is. So effectively this whole clip, I'm going to try and use the last 2 seconds and basically try and overlap it with the first 2 seconds so that it kind of, it's sort of like if you can imagine like a snake eating a tail. Its tail, it sort of just overlaps on itself in a nice way, and that's effectively the strategy here. It's a little bit hard to get your head around the idea, but once you kind of see how it works, it makes complete sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually make a new composition. We'll make it 1080 by 1080. We'll make this one 15 seconds, just so we've got a bit of tail on either end to be able to muck around with, because you're going to need it to kind of move things around. Sorry, I should have called it something. So let's call it looping dance for socials. All right. Now let's pull this up here and let's bring back our dance element. Now, just because what I kind of want to point out here is that where the loop point is going to occur is basically in the last 2 seconds, because what we're going to do is we're going to try and see where this lands is at the 8-second mark. That's where the new loop is going to occur. So you can imagine we're trying to make this go from here back to the start, right? And so we need to kind of figure out a nice fun way for it to kind of loop back. So the way I kind of thought about it was we'll just go to the first 2 seconds of this and we're going to lob this off, because the first 2 seconds are just filler at this point. Nothing happens. It's just, as you can see here, nothing happens. She's just dancing and the actual loop point doesn't start moving until the 2-second mark is when the keyframes start moving. And we want it to be constantly moving, right? And the last 2 seconds, which is basically here, is where the loop point should occur. So we're going to press Ctrl-8 and leave a mark there. And we're going to duplicate this. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull this to this edge here. And we're going to bring this to the end here. And let's see what happens. So as you can see here, we have to try and figure out how to fill in that black box there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the 2-second mark, which is where the black box is going to come in. So let's find out where that black box starts creeping back in. So I'm going to drop this res here for a sec. So you can kind of see it comes in around there. So what we're going to do is set a time remap. So we're going to enable time remapping, which I've already done. And we're going to drag the edge of this to this here. Now we're going to go here and set a keyframe. We'll press P to set a keyframe there. So it slides in like the rest of the other things. And let's just have a look at what it looks like as a still. So I'm actually going to just make it so it looks white. Drag that white part of the frame. So as you can kind of see here, I'm just dragging it so it goes to the white part of the frame. And what's going to happen is it's going to slide in and then she'll start moving. So I think there is not bad. And while I understand she is kind of moving, I'm going to make this an easy ease as well. And while I understand that she is not moving in that still frame, I think that still kind of works because you can't really tell when you're not paying 100% attention to it. Kind of looks like a cool effect in some regards, but it is looping. Now, here's where we can kind of make things a little bit more interesting. So what we're going to do is, rather than just having it coming straight on, we can actually go to some of these elements and actually change up the rotation of it, which is what I've done in my previous version. So let's go to this element and press R to bring up the rotation. Make sure you can see your keyframes. We'll go and set an R there, and let's, just so I can see what's going on, let's set a rotation here so that it actually spins a little bit out as it's going. So I think that was around 30 something. So you can kind of see it's a little bit more interesting there. So just to kind of give it a bit of variation, and variation is the key here. We'll do the same with this one. So let's press R, bring up the rotation, and let's set this so that it rotates out of frame like this. What's a bit annoying though is that it is clipping on the edges here as soon as it rotates. So the way we can kind of fix that is we can put this Reppitile feature on there. So CC Reppitile, which is kind of a lifesaver. It's kind of good for getting you out of those little jams where you need to fill in the top and bottom of your screen. We'll just get it to expand down and expand up, and make sure that you've got unfolding checked, and just otherwise it looks a bit weird. And we'll just copy this and put it on this one as well. And that way we can make sure that all those seams are nice and hidden well. Alright, so that looping element is looking pretty good. Let's go back and actually look at our looping video as it is. I'm actually going to pull this in because I don't like that this comes in so early. I actually just want it to be a white card when she comes in, and then we pull it in because I think that looks better. I'm actually do that with the rest of them as well because I think this comes in too early. It moves in too early. I just want it to be a still color until it decides to move in. Let's actually do that instead. There we go. Yeah, that looks better. So let's do that with all of them. So let's bring this positioning keyframe on all of them up so that it only the color, it comes in as a color rather than comes in as a still frame of the video. There we go. Yeah, there we go. So the motion only comes in when you actually see the card, which is good. And that's what I want. And that definitely hides that a lot better. And there you go. We've got a looping video. I hope that's made sense, guys. I don't feel like I really explained myself as well as I liked, but it is a real mind, it really messes up with your mind trying to do looping videos, but when you get them, my goodness, they're really fun to do. Anyway, guys, look, the project file again is, if you want to break this down, the project file is in the description, and if you just get that free month of Envato Elements, you can follow along with me as well. And if you want to check out everything that's happening with me on the socials, you can go to nickbenku_motion and check out all the fun stuff that I'm putting up there. You can ask me questions or you send me a message. I will answer. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening and I'll see you next time.
You guys got to check out Nick's video tomorrow. He's going to be showing you how to make this crazy cool pixelated text tutorial. Please make sure to check out all the videos in this week's creative series down in the description below. Thanks so much for watching the video, guys. I actually have 2 additional videos that you've got to watch. And remember to get your free month of Envato Elements by clicking the link below in the description. And lastly, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, guys. And as always, remember to keep it chill.